starring actual real brothers Jason Spivey and his little brother Brandon.
All right, welcome back, guys. It is week 9. We are back inside the lab. Another exciting week. How's your week been, buddy?
Tough week, but we got through it.
That's all right, man. Win some, you lose some, as they say, right?
I'm not sweating it too bad.
That's all right. Hey, just want to kind of, I always like to start off these videos with something exciting. Obviously, kind of let the stories write themselves the last couple weeks with the Colts and the miraculous start they've seemed to have this year. And then obviously just the city of Indianapolis and the fortune that we've had just in the overall sports landscape this year. So it's been really fun. But I think what we've kind of done is just more or less started out, we wanted to kind of give some NFL news, and we start off with injury reports and things like that.
Yeah, but at this point in the season, everybody's getting caught up on those. So
we'll find some others, huh? We'll find some more fillers. So what I've been kind of doing is just diving into some stats and just kind of some interesting things that I kind of come across over the course of the weekend when I'm watching different sports shows and some of the games, and some I'd like to just kind of point out just because I think they're pretty interesting. One of them I was talking to you about off camera is Spencer Rattler, and it's whether or not it means that it would translate into straight fantasy value is neither here nor there. It's just simply something to think about.
Right.
But he is a better quarterback rating, and I'm going to list 3 quarterbacks that he has a better quarterback rating. One of those is Caleb Williams, the other is Jaden Daniels, and the other is Trevor Lawrence. And why I talk about this is the fact that 3 of those have started or have started multiple weeks for a team in our fantasy league. So I just think it's interesting when there's a guy that just sits out there, has never found his way onto a roster, who's actually kind of quietly putting together.
Not to mention all 3 of those guys were number 1 picks or top picks in the draft overall.
Yep, you're exactly right. I remember being upset that I didn't get Jaden Daniels in the draft, and I'm kind of think about the injuries that I've already been dealing with.
Yeah, you were big on him this year.
I really was.
That would probably hurt you this year.
Gosh, I would be miserable. But here we are. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting stat, and I do got a couple more. One of them is, obviously, we're privy to what we see with Jonathan Taylor and the Indianapolis Colts and what kind of season he's having. And I think it has kind of gotten unanimous at this point, and even in the mainstream media, with the fact that he is the best running back in football.
Right.
And when we're talking about just strictly the running back position, and I think that's kind of what everybody classifies him as. He does seem to be the top in the sport right now. And why I'm talking about him again, I always like to find a reason to talk about one of our Colts if they're doing something special. But there's a lot of comparison to why is his MVP talk going to kind of start to gain some momentum here moving forward, or we're going to have this comparison to, well, Saquon didn't get it last year. Well, that brings up a very good point in my next point, which is this is a different season than Saquon had last year. Saquon seemed to build his season basically on yards.
Yeah, 2,000 yards was that number that he was chasing.
Sure. Well, Jonathan Taylor is kind of at a different stratosphere where the yards might not necessarily be attainable, and it's not necessarily out of reach, but we could be looking at all-purpose yards in his wheelhouse. The touchdown record could also be in the wheelhouse, and when you combine both of those things together.
Yeah, but we've had seasons like this in the past. LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander, Jamal Charles.
Yep.
Where they just scored 20-something touchdowns and they still never got any looks in it. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the country looks at that. Obviously, Indy not being a big market, not going to get the extra votes just because nobody watches them other than us.
You're exactly right. I mean, they do try to find other people to talk about.
Plus, the other thing that may hurt him is how well the quarterback's playing.
And that is, when you got 2 guys on the same team that are in the top 5 for voting.
And he is a guy people from New York are watching because he came from New York.
Yeah.
I was listening to the radio this week, and those guys were going on. Jonathan Taylor might be the offensive player of the year, but Daniel Jones might actually be the MVP because
he's steering the ship.
When you take one of them off the team, obviously you use Daniel Jones, that team's not going to win games.
And I think we know what happens if he's not there.
Yeah. If you bring Taylor off, you might get 60-70% of the production from somebody else, but you still got a chance to win some games.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So it'll be interesting to see how they go with that.
Yeah. But the reason I wanted to talk about it, I just wanted to also point out the fact that Jonathan Taylor is already 1 touchdown shy of the entire season for Saquon Barkley last year. So just another odd stat I thought was kind of fun and interesting. Then just one last one I was going to throw at you. I actually went through. Sometimes I have too much time on my hand and I'm doing nothing at home. So I get a thought and I start going to do some research. But anyway, it was like we've all kind of been dealing with this quarterback carousel. You know, if you look at our fantasy scoreboard, it's like you see. I mean, Carson Wentz was in the lineup last week, and it's just like, how has this happened? But anyway, so that kind of led me down this rabbit trail of, well, how many teams have had a different quarterback start than they had on opening day? And I actually went through and did the numbers, and that's 10. So essentially, we're talking about a third of the league has already had to replace their starting quarterback at some point in the season.
Well, there's been a handful of those teams actually go to a third quarterback. I know right offhand the Ravens did, the Bengals have.
Yeah.
Now the Vikings are going to be.
Yeah, we got one quarterback who started for two different teams this year.
Yeah, Flacco on two different teams. So yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Whenever we're our sport, we'll call this a sport, but what we're doing here is so heavily revolved around what the quarterbacks are able to do. And when you got a third of the league in a quarterback carousel, gosh, we sit here and wonder why our numbers are down seemingly week in and week out. I think that might kind of have a lot to do with it.
One other stat I got, obviously last week's trivia question. I know we kind of got some videos out there, but last week's trivia question, who had that right answer that the only team up until last week, before last week's game, scored 21 points in every game, and actually the correct team was the Chicago Bears. Obviously now there's not one team at all in the league.
Yeah, just like I was going to come in here and talk about Saquon not rushing for 100 yards.
I kind of set that one up on the tee because obviously everybody's thinking with Indy and all the points they scored. Well, they actually had the game against the Rams. They scored 20.
Yeah, and it was a very well orchestrated question. It's like Himbo or something on ESPN where the 21 point is what threw it off. So yeah, good little teaser there. So. Other than that, yeah, I apologize for the video last week, guys, especially for Braden's sake. That's why I wanted to just get out at least a couple clips, what we did have that we were able to work with.
Thank you, Braden, for coming on and doing what you do. We had a good time with you last week.
Yeah, and I actually also appreciate just his take on it too. Whenever I reached out that we were having some issues, he's cool as a fan. So I thank you again, Braden. Once we get all this dialed in a little bit better, man, we'd love to have you back on or even back in studio live sometime. So keep that in mind as we move forward here. So here moving forward, guys, we'll jump right back in and get on these power rankings.
Right on.
All right.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Going to get into this week's trivia. Don't look. I mean, obviously these answers you can go look up and cheat if you want to. But here's what I'm going to say. Pause the video, jump down in the comments, put your answers down. Let's see how everybody does.
Still waiting for that first one. I think this is the week. Somebody's going to do it.
So this week's, we have 4 teams in our league that have scored 1,000 points or more. Do you know what 4 they are? And I've got one hint on one of the teams is they don't have a winning record. So hit pause, jump down there in the comments, put which 4 you think it is. Moving on from there, let's get into the standings recap. Obviously, the 3 division leaders right now. Myself, I got a game up on Big Fish still. We did take the loss, but he also took the loss.
Right.
Your division tied up. I know you got the tiebreaker right now over the Wolves.
Which means nothing because we got to play each other again.
Right, but right now there's still a little neck and neck, some dog fighting to do there. And then even in the other division there, they're tied up, saying 5-3.
Yeah.
What is that? JJ's Masterclass, I think, right now has that tiebreaker.
Yeah, and you guys are welcome there for holding off Braden for you down there in that Nerf division.
Right. Now we're getting closer and closer towards the second half of the season. We're starting talking about those wild card teams. Right now, thankfully, we don't have to do much tie breaking because there's 5-3 teams. There's 3 of them. We got 3 wild cards. Is it 3 or is it 2?
3. It's 3. Yeah.
3 wild cards. So it makes it easy for us.
Yeah, I feel like right now the top 6 kind of sees themselves.
So everybody 5-3 and better in right now. 2 teams outside looking in, 4-4. We got Bedtime, Twin Bowers. Obviously, still got several weeks and those last 3 weeks in the division to make up some ground there. So
going to be very important, and I really do. I mean, that just goes to show again. We talked about last week. I don't know if it made it in there or not, but about 500, does seem to be kind of like you need to be shooting for 500 if you want to have playoff hopes. I really do feel like by the time it all shakes out, 500 will be good enough.
Yeah, but at least to be in the mix right now, you got to be in that range right now.
Everybody else.
3 wins or less, you're still scratching and clawing.
Yeah, and just keep that in mind too. We're going to start having teams being eliminated too. I mean, I think we kind of already start
Yeah, I
looking
think
at
we're getting
teams
pretty
that are,
close to one right now. We got a 1-win team, 8 weeks into it.
yeah. So that means 7 losses, and I mean, if we're on those same numbers, about 500, that means he's 1 loss away from being under 500. And keeping in mind he's got to go to division play, I'd be pretty scared if I was Tim.
From there, let's move on to power rankings. You got guys moving around this week?
I mean, I would say yes, maybe a little bit. I think
Gotta be a couple guys moving around.
for me it was more like I didn't. I don't know how you approach your power rankings. I don't know how these guys approach what they think power rankings are. I didn't get too much into changing. I mean, you lost and Braden lost, and just as a little spoiler, I'm gonna tell you right now, it didn't affect my top two because you guys were missing so much. Like, how am I gonna say you're not?
Well, that's part of
Powerful
it
team.
too. Is there's missing guys for bye weeks, and then there's missing guys because they got
Injured or
So one of the big moves I had was Dan. I had him way up. I have him dropping 3 spaces this week just because of that injury to Scadaboo and not having real good depth behind him. I think that's going to hurt him a little bit.
It kind of makes me wonder, and I wish maybe I should go back. And I don't really know if we really did a draft recap, but man, it's really something to think about next year that we really do a full draft recap video. So maybe we can kind of dive back in because with what you just said about Big Fish's roster, it makes me wonder if Scadaboo was enough to catapult him into the top 3, what was his roster like coming out of the draft, in your opinion?
Well, looking at what the website had rankings, you can see that little slider when you go in there, which is probably where Scott might have got those rankings that he put out. But, it slid Dan right on way on up where he wasn't right out of the draft. Now I'm kind of curious to go back in there and look to see, hey, with this injury, that's a big one for him.
It is, and I mean, when you still, I think when you're thinking about the up and down, we're starting to see with Derrick Henry, it's got to be a little concerning. So I can see why you'd have him dropping a little bit.
Another big mover I got going up is JJ's Masterclass. One guy you're not big on, but right now he's currently got the biggest win streak going with 3 games.
Yeah, so JJ's is actually, I'm actually starting to buy in. So really, I said it in the group chat. So if you're watching this and you're in the fantasy group, you know what I'm talking about. That I do feel like he's a move or two away.
Yeah.
Why I'm struggling with him, and I've struggled to this point, is, a few videos ago we were talking about this with Mason, and he kind of ended up rectifying the situation to a certain degree. But if you look over going into last week, this dude is starting Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. I can get you starting a guy for 1 week. The problem is that was his second and only other running back on his roster.
Right.
Moving on.
Right. Yep. So I do got him moving up. Hopefully he can keep up.
What
keep
spot
going.
is that for him?
I got him actually all the way up in 1, 2, 3, 4th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
Moving right ahead, 1 spot ahead of Big Dan and Big Fish.
Yeah. So I'm not too far behind you there. My top 5 is I know, and then you in the top 2. Again, I'm not caught up in what happened last week because this is a power ranking. It's not standings. We just did that segment, But so from there, I actually go Big Fish. I'm not gonna completely write him off just yet because I know he's working hard to try to figure out a solution of these problems that he's going through.
And the thing is, I don't think he's got trade capital.
I don't think he's got trade capital, but my thing is just like what I talked about with how good was he to where Scadaboo made that much of a difference. I'm going to give him
20-25 a game out of running back makes a big difference.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for another week. And kind of Braden is there with Vidal, for instance. We talked about that too. Braden's kind of holding on the edge of the 1 seed to me because of I have some question marks at his running back depth.
Well, eventually Hampton comes back. I think closer towards the end of November.
And then Bucky comes back, so Rashad White doesn't get much. And there's all kinds of T. Higgins is a very important piece of his puzzle right now. I like that. So I have questions there. I got guys that are ready to start dropping down. I'm just not there yet. But I got Warden in the 4th spot.
Well, I'm actually Warden in the 3rd spot. He's actually putting up some good points lately. He's obviously winning. He's up there tied in your guys' division. So
yeah,
I've kind of got him moved up in there. I did move Big Fish on down. I got you coming in behind him. Bedtime following you up. Twin Bowers going there. Now I do got Twin Bowers on the rise. His roster now, he's getting guys back from injury. CD comes back is a big thing for him. Bowers coming back, when that happens, is going to be a big thing for him.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you're really.
he's obviously now, I think his roster today is better than it was week 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, with the Kyron Williams trade,
Yep.
now it's finally starting to be fruitful for him.
Yeah.
Well, and the Scotty injury.
Yeah.
So now when he.
But that having Tyrone
Yeah.
gives him an extra piece.
That's what I mean. Now Tyrone's not a must start. He's a spot start, and he can start to have some flexibility there in that flex position. I really like Drew's roster moving forward. I said it in the early videos that I think he's a second half team. I think he's positioned right where he needs to be able to make a playoff push. I have him in the 7th spot myself. And then, I actually have bedtime in the 6th spot. I'm kind of what I did with Dan. I'm going to give him another week or two.
He's got that roster. It's like, it could be really good. It could be really bad.
Yeah, and it's so weird, and it's kind of what ends up happening to you, but it's so weird how the continuity of who's bad and who's good always seems to be together.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when one person on your team kind of takes a shit, it seems like everybody follows suit.
It's like you hit home runs with all of them, or you strike out.
Yeah, I mean, you had a bad week from CMC.
I go from 179 to 79,
Yeah.
back down to 79.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's power rankings, though.
Yep. So we'll be back. Start getting into these games.
All right, special guest upcoming. Stick around, guys.
Hi. Are you having a bad year of fantasy football? Are you tired of losing to some jerk through a small screen and never being able to see that person to voice your displeasure? Well, from the makers of Butt Lover, Skirpy, and the Fart Filter, I introduce you to Bitch Slap. This revolutionary product will help you relieve some of that pinned-up frustration, fear of retaliation. Bitch Slap's patented technology allows you to swing with vigor while maintaining a safe distance. Tired of that lingering sting of another human's face against your palm? Want that pain-free feeling the next time you need to wipe that precious vagina? Or the next time you are ready to be a keyboard warrior? Well, fear not, Bitch Slap has got your back. So go on home and slap a bitch. Bitch Slap!
All right, we're back. We are live. We're going to start the review segment from last week. We'll start breaking down these games a little bit, and then we'll bring on our special guest a little bit later on. But the first game we're going to break down is going to be your big loss.
Yeah, I got a little flat tire on that one on the bus, didn't I?
Yeah, it's 2 flat tires in the last 3 weeks, man.
Well, it's boom or bust, it seems like right now, but
I mean, as much as I want to sit here and rag on you, boom or bust, and it looks bad on the scoreboard if you just go back and look at just the scoreboard or final results type thing. It's bye weeks and injuries, man. Bye weeks and injuries, yeah. So I don't feel like this is going to be any kind of sustainability as far as low scores for you. So I'm not worried about the loss as far as your overall projections go. But I will talk about maybe how we got there. And I do got a couple questions for you. So first off, final score of that game, big win for JJ's Masterclass. And let's not downplay how important that win was for him, because this is a team that's kind of scratching and clawing with the top team in the league, and he's holding him off for the top spot in that division. So my hat's off to JJ. I'm going to kind of touch back on his team here in just a second after I ask you a couple questions. Final score, 139-88 in favor of JJ's, obviously. We know you still got the receiver issues. I still think you're good in the long run with Rashee Rice as the number one. Again, I think you kind of stood on that statement last week. And then the last one I was just curious about on your end was, again, there's nothing on your bench to get excited about. So I mean, it's easy to sit here and do the looking back.
What if?
Did as good as you could, but I mean, going into it, I was just curious when I seen Sunday morning the double tight end set. Was it on purpose? Was it tight end? I mean, it was National Tight Ends Day. I don't know. Like, was it some silly thing like that?
Well, the thing is, Judy ain't done nothing, so it's like I kind of just. I mean, you see, I throw Alec Pierce in there. I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of throwing stuff up against the wall, see what sticks. Normally I do have a good flex, but with the guys off, I kind of threw a wrench into that.
Well, let's shift over to JJ's and talk about him. I do got some notes about JJ. So obviously Tucker Kraft had a Tucker Kraft kind of day, but a couple things that stood out to me when I looked at the actual scores from the game was, dude, he had everybody on his team in double figures except for 2, and I think you only had maybe 2. So that's pretty.
I didn't put up a whole lot.
Easy disparity.
I had 2 guys that scored 80 6.
Yeah, and then
The
I
week
mean,
before.
I don't know how many segments we need to name drop Kenneth Gainwell before he finally just removes him from that starting lineup. I'm assuming that's going to happen pretty
Remove
quickly.
him.
Yeah.
So we don't have to talk about him no more.
And don't worry, there's other guys on the list. I'm coming for you in a little bit too. But again, I've talked about how he only rosters 2 running backs, but he knows this. He's working on it. But another thing that does stick out for me with him is this is a guy that's we're talking about win streaks and hot, cold, and this, that, and the other. This is 3 straight weeks of him scoring on the north side of 120.
3 games in a row that he's won.
Yeah.
Yes, winning streak going right now.
So I mean, there is something to be said for you, like I say, get over that 120 mark. Good
And
things
I
will start to happen.
believe I haven't really kind of rechecked that. I think he's got Marcus Monsters this week, so he can pump that up to 4.
Yeah, so he's looking good. Good things are rolling with him. Let's move over to you for the next game, Jake.
I got the next game going on. I know Ball against the Motorboaters. Pulled one out. I don't even think you really picked that. Did you?
I didn't pick it, no, and I probably, going into Monday night, I still didn't feel very confident because I seen you lose the week before on that kind of weird where you only need 7 points or.
Yeah, but this game right here, it did give us a glaring issue what Braden could have going on. We've got guys that kind of banged up. He's got a lot of guys that he picked up off waivers. We're not going to have White anymore if Bucky comes back. Vidal's there right now. If Hampton comes back in 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks, whenever it is, well, his roster starts to thin out.
Yeah, so I talked about where he is in my power ranking and how temperamental I am with him being in that number 1 spot, and a lot of it hinges around Vidal and the success he has on hitting on that pick or not. I don't think it's going to last very long. Once these dominoes start to fall with people coming back, I really think Brady's going to suffer.
Yeah, I almost dropped him actually down to 2, other than the fact that he gets Lamar back.
Yeah,
and Lamar,
I know, and he's so good, and that's exactly why I left him up there. And I'm going to give him 2 more weeks while I take a look at what.
But on your side, here's a little stat. You're into all the big stats. I've looked. You scored 115 to 122 in 5 games. Not setting the world on fire by any means, but guess what? You got 5 wins out of those ones.
No.
That 120 number is about what you thought.
I'm telling you, man.
So yeah, definitely there. One question: National Tight Ends Day. You got the question for me. I got the question for you.
Yeah.
The Loveland play there. Did you see the scratch? Was it just kind of one of them things like, they got to start getting the guy involved?
Yeah,
and he has been getting involved, but
so yeah,
go ahead and make that play.
Yeah, you're pretty much exactly right. So I had Sunday morning when I woke up, I had Andrews in there, and I felt pretty confident about it.
When Andrews is a guy that's always been around and produced. I mean, he's kind of dropped off there a little bit.
I felt like with Huntley in for Baltimore, that Andrews would be a good kind of safety net for him.
Likely being back.
Yeah, exactly. So I was good Sunday morning, but I picked up Loveland because I think he's going to be a second half player. I think the Bears have to figure out ways to involve him more, and I think they're starting to do so. And when I seen Komet come out, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to take a flyer. I thought I was going to get beat anyway. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to gamble.
Yep. Well, you got the 115-109 win. Real big stat there for Braden. Defense, kicker.
Yeah.
2 points combined out of that position.
Yeah, it's just really funny for the guy who, and I think this part did get cut out, but he brought a very good score that he was able to do the week before on the free agent market of scoring the number 1 defense and the number 4 kicker.
Yeah, but that defense was on bye.
Yeah, he didn't get to use him last week, but I think what happened was he forgot to think about the week against me. He wasn't taking me serious enough.
And not only that is he's going with a defense that's
terrible.
Horrible.
The 32nd pass ranked defense in the league. I don't understand why that was even on the radar.
Yeah, it seemed like there's a couple other better plays out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking he was just maybe chasing like sacks with T.J. Watt or something like that.
That could be a couple of those, yeah. But great win there.
All right, we got Battle versus Team Johnson. This was a game that probably seems like an upset on the scoreboard, and probably by standings, but. Actually, you and I picked this game. Yeah, Johnson with the big win there, and it was 120. We talked about that 120. He got to 120.
He got a win.
And he got a win. And then Battle 85. It's just I was really high on Battle coming out of the draft.
I think he's fallen into that Johnson, Mark's Monstrous beats territory fast.
You know, and
I don't think he's there yet.
but he's knocking on the door. How do we get to these numbers? Well, you do realize a lot on some guys that are just not really working out for whatever reason. You got Washington Commanders that seem to be having a down year, and we've been talking about that.
That being one of those teams that, did they overproduce last year or are they underproducing this year? What is it?
I think you were spot on, and it's probably pretty much spot on with that Hail Mary, and as far as when it started kind of catapulting them in the right
Gave
direction.
them that little bit of confidence and rolled with it.
Yeah, and it got through that season, but yeah, it's not doing much this season. But a couple of weird things. He did get Goddard in finally on the right day, which I've been waiting for him to do that all year. And then what I thought was bullshit was something completely out of his control, but Bijan Robinson. Have you seen any of the stats on that game?
I did not pay too much attention on that one.
So they bring in a backup quarterback because Penix is hurt. It's Kirk Cousins.
You think he could play?
But you would also think you would lean on your guy.
Yeah.
They ran the ball 9 times in the entire game.
I think they were thinking we got 5 years ago Kirk Cousins.
Gosh.
And Jett is out there with him.
Yeah, I mean, so how can you put points up when you're only carrying the ball 5 times? Kamara, I think we might have to start to admit that Kamara just might
It's
be
that point
running
in
out
his
of
career.
gas.
It's that point in his career. But he was even the last 4 or 5 season. It was start fast early, fizzle out.
These are the issues I think Battle's going through right now. And it's the second week in a row under 90. So that is, I think there's maybe only one other team in the league who's done that. But that, that's got to be something to think about. As far as Team Johnson, though, I think I'm not going to say this is the only time over 120 because I know he's been up there before. So I'm not going to say because I think he even got over it and lost once. Yeah. So when you get 17 out of a kicker, it's probably going to be a good day.
Good find.
So that's where we'll start.
Don't count on it every week, though.
Exactly. I mean, it was solid, but nothing great.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to give Mark a little kudos to, because, again, we're overreachers for Indianapolis Colts players. And he probably overreached in the draft for Michael Pittman. I don't know, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, probably at least a round or 2. Right?
Yeah, probably. So good for him. Great win for him, and it actually keeps his season alive, in my opinion, for one more week.
Moving on, I got beats by Ray. We just brought up against Twin Bowers. Twin Bowers here, like we said, we were talking earlier. This is that team that is now just starting to hit it. He's getting some pieces back. The Scadaboo thing helps him out. Beats, and he's just like we've kind of gone on and on and on about him. I won't dwell on him too much more since we have, but you're going to have to put it together quick. So, but with Twin Bowers there, I'm gonna ask you this question, man. He's got his number 1 wide out there with CD, but then he's got 3 guys that can slide into that 2 spot. How do you make that decision?
If I'm Drew, where do I go? I trade Devontae Smith today.
Right now, why he's worth something?
I think you're down on DK Metcalf. I'm not a big fan of him, but I can't deny the numbers.
Yeah.
He is double digits every week except for one off season. I talked about how JJ's has been over 120 for 3 weeks in a row. Drew has been over 127 4 out of the last 5 games.
But like we talked about off camera, though, it's at some point he's already a game or 2 behind in the division. He's still got to go through the other 2 guys ahead of him. So he's going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, so I think with Drew, it makes these wins against the non-division opponents very, very important. So, in my opinion, I feel like Drew has to almost sweep these next 3 weeks before going back into division play because that's his only path to come out if he's the 3 seed.
Right. Well, the other key thing that he has going for him is we talked about Big Fish earlier in the power rankings with that injury coming back. So, hey, I'm nipping at his heels right there. Can I get him, tie it up with him, play him head to head? You got it. But definitely a good win there.
What was the final?
128-96.
One thing that I got a question about the game. Did it strike you as odd? And I didn't get to see it. But I have 2 kind of notes I want to talk about when it comes to beats before we move on. The 0 from Quentin Johnson. I didn't see any kind of injury designation.
No, that was
I only seen 1 target.
Yeah, and a lot of people asking that question, what really happened there? And
A little bit of bright, silver lining. And Aaron Jones came back last week, is why I talked about that. And I think that's something that may help Beats. Maybe he can kind of find something to catch fire there.
Still got a long way to go though. But speaking of the Warden, let's get into that last game.
That was a good one if you're the Warden.
Yeah, which is probably one game he definitely wanted to win. This
Yeah,
week.
I would say so. But
I say if he went 1-12, this is the one he wanted.
Yeah, and he left nothing for chance there. This was kind of just rocking and rolling. The thing that sticks out here when you look back at some of this for me is, are we starting to see R.J. Harvey being more of a consistent? At first, I thought was he starting to become the guy taking over the backfield, but you see J.K. still getting the carries in the yard. So
Well, it's like J.K. is you're between the
20s
20s guys, and Harvey's getting.
it's got to make a pretty good value though. I mean,
There's been a lot of guys over the years that's benefited from that. Get me in there and I'll score. The vultures we called them back in the day. But
Yeah, I mean when you're trying to find some positivity on the bench, but I look at this, and when I looked at it Sunday morning before the game started, my first thought is quit benching Drake May.
Well, here's my thought on Mark. Mark, you got 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks. That's about all you got going for you right now. Package one of these guys up with one of your running backs, one of your wideouts, and get some better pieces. Get them out there, get you a little bit better, because your second best player is on your bench every week.
But I feel like, all things considered, I've looked over his roster. We'll talk about it when we do our preview for the game upcoming with Mark's Monstrous. But I do feel like he had a little bit of down weeks for some guys that he has had some consistency with. And I feel like that kind of aided into these numbers a little bit with Keenan Allen and Dalton Schultz, some guys that he kind of been able to lean on this year while he's kind of revolved the other parts of that roster around. So they kind of let him down a little bit. But, one thing I wanted to ask Scott, and I actually wanted to ask him this, but I happened to be on Sunday morning, and I noticed he picked up Justin Fields Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he doesn't make that move Sunday morning if he's not thinking about starting, right?
Well, I'm not necessarily, but possibly.
He does it on a week where
Well,
Tyler's on a bye.
Yeah, and maybe he is.
So he's starting a backup quarterback,
Yeah.
which was Caleb Williams. After that game, I know he's sitting there like going back and forth, and he just couldn't.
Interesting too to go back and forth.
And he just
Caleb
couldn't
Williams.
force himself to pull his beloved Bears quarterback out of that lineup. So I wonder if he's got any remorse there. They did leave.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you never know. It didn't matter at the end of the day for him, though.
It does. When you're talking about guys that can possibly put up a top score, and that's an additional almost 20 points, and that puts him really in the ballpark.
But
So
this is probably that one week where Scott got the points from the guys he drafted in your division. He got big points out of Asian. Brees Hall finally showed up. Jamar Chase was there. Waddle showed up. Pitts even showed up.
Yeah.
When he drafted this team, this is what he was looking for.
Yeah. So, but talking about Brees Hall, did you realize that was his first touchdown of the year? Odd, right?
Yeah, I think I seen a stat on him as he had the most carries in the league without a touchdown.
And he came on in a big way, and Scott needed all of it because he got 3 out of him that day in 36. So yeah, just a nice win for Scott. And I think really just a positive kind of feel good week for him moving forward, kind of as we start to work down the stretch.
So real quick, while we're speaking of the Warden there, you're neck and neck with him in a division. How's this gonna shake out? How you feeling?
I feel like Scott is a little bit better than me.
Can you scratch and claw enough?
But man, like, I feel like my roster's starting to kind of come back together. You got to beat me, dude. So it's just kind of any given week. I don't like my chances when I get back into division play. So I feel like I need to be paced or kind of put in a pretty good position going in there. That's just kind of.
You ever see how that turns out?
Yep. All right, welcome back, guys. We have a special guest for you. Say hello to Big Dan, Team Owner Big Fish.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. As the senior spokesman of our league, I want to just say how much we all appreciate the effort that you guys put into making these videos. I know it takes a lot of time and effort. We appreciate it. Enjoy them every week.
Well, Dan, we appreciate that. We have a good time bringing these to you guys, and it kind of gives us something to do, and it kind of helps make this fun for, we hope, everybody involved. So thank you for saying that, Dan. And I do want to start this out. I'm going to kind of make a trend of this to kind of give our guests a minute or so to kind of just say what they want to say to the league, kind of introduce yourselves, talk for a minute, kind of let everybody know what Dan's all about.
Well, hey, tell you what, I've really enjoyed playing fantasy football. I never played it before until 2 years ago. The Super Bowl ended up runner up. And for you guys that have not had a good season, I know some of it off to a really bad start. My first year playing, I went 0-6. I didn't win a game. First 6 games, I'm 0-6. Then I won 7 of the next 8 and got in the playoffs and ended up getting beat by short bus driver in the championship. So
Watch out for that bus.
you gotta try to get to 500 or you're going to be in trouble. But there's still hope. You just got to keep hanging in there. But yeah, I retired firefighter. Did some TV stuff about many years ago there around Indy for about 4 years, sports related, and I always enjoyed it. I always liked sports because everybody has an opinion. You know, who says that Jason's right or Brandon's right or
I say Jason's right.
Donnie? It doesn't matter. You have an opinion, and it's what makes sports in America go.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Dan. I couldn't have said it better, man. I appreciate you being well spoken enough to kind of elaborate that properly, and it does. You know, it means a lot to us when we can kind of make a difference. If it makes anybody's day brighter, dude, that means everything to me, man. If it makes somebody smile when they're sitting there watching the videos, or if they're wanting to show their friends or family members when they're watching, dude, we're all about that. So bring more people
Well,
in.
and I told your mom today, it's a shame because you guys do a really good job on producing the show. It's a shame that it's a small audience because with fantasy league, although you guys could talk fantasy football, even if it's not your league. And but that's the sad part because, like I say, you guys got some talent and you could take it somewhere.
Yeah, we've actually kicked around the idea of being able to like maybe put this out there of like being able to offer it out onto Facebook or something, like, hey, if you guys want to, send us your league information, send us your score synopsis from last week. We'll break it down in a little short video for, X amount of dollars or something.
Right.
Something nobody's doing, just try, that's what we try to do. We try to come up with new and different ideas. And, this is one of those that nobody does and people seem to enjoy it. So,
And it gives us a reason to hang out together on Thursdays.
So if you're all right with it, man, I kind of want to dive back into the games from last week. I know it's a little bit of a sore subject for you, losing that game 164-91. My goodness.
Woo!
All right, here you go. Now listen, my lowest score up to that week was 119.
Now, I got it in my
and
notes.
I split by 91.
Yep.
Dak and Ferguson between them scored 7 points. Dak got the 7. My tight end Ferguson gets 0. I mean, it was just a night out. And then with Scat getting hurt early in the first half, they just, and I can honestly say this. I looked at when the schedule came out, when you got the schedule out, and I took a look. I knew week 7 was the problem with I know ball. I thought week 8 could possibly be because I got a lot of bye. And everybody has to deal with buys, and I get that. But I did in my own mind think week 7, week 8, big fish could maybe be in trouble, and I certainly was.
Yeah, I mean, you ran into a gauntlet there, so I guess it kind of leads into a question I have for you. If you're going to be on the losing side of a game, what kind of player are you? Would you rather lose a game 164-162, or if you're going to lose a game, would you rather have that be the week where all your team just kind of craps the bed?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one because everybody likes to get steamrolled, and that's what Donnie did to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I got steamrolled. But I've had a couple. Jay beat me in the early part of the season. I think last year I lost 1 or 2 games by a point. Those hurt.
Yeah, they do.
Definitely hurt. And that's when you start becoming the manager. You're looking at your bench.
Exactly.
Thinking, what can I do? Did a little different here. What can I move around? Should have I moved around? It's too late after the fact. But that all comes into play and everything. But I think the steamroll effect I don't like. I'd rather get beat, by a few points and lose than than get mashed.
Yeah, see, I think I'm the complete opposite. I think you said why I'm the complete opposite because I like to know that, all right, it really wasn't a matter of what I did. I don't want to sit there and have to second guess what I did because I feel like that's what becomes next week's problems.
Well,
Right.
for me, playing fantasy football for a long time now, you know you're going to have some down games. I just assume somebody just beat me by 100 on a down game, knowing, okay, my guys got it out of their system all at once. Let's move on and get better.
And that's where I'm at too, because the ups and downs are going to happen for each and every player. So if that's going to be the case, I would rather have my downs all to be at the same time. Yeah.
And you guys make a good point because you're right. I don't care how good it, for a while there, I thought Jay was going to run the table.
Right.
And then I thought, come on now, everybody's going to have their ups and downs, and Jay had his. And you're right. It does take the sting out of it if you get it out of the way at one time.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Sting, let's get back to Scattaboo. How you feeling about that?
Oh, buddy, I tell you, my heart, when I seen Jay post that up, I was watching, but I was like, oh, no, actually I wasn't because we had trouble getting the game on.
Oh.
And I saw Jay's post and then I went in and I was like, oh man, this ain't good.
Yeah.
Felt really good because I actually drafted this kid because I knew a little bit about him. He reminded me so much of Mike Allstott that played for Purdue.
He does.
Just an animal. I mean, he trained like him. I really thought I don't, this injury's serious. I mean, I don't know whether it is going to threaten his career, but it certainly could.
Yeah.
So, my heart sunk though, because with Henry and him, I had a great 1-2 punch. It certainly hurt the big fish's stable.
Yep, and I think you're going to kind of notice how some members of the panel here seem to feel about that injury here once you kind of watch this video back and see how that results into your power rankings.
So where are you going to go from here to recover from that?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I guess he doesn't know. I got a question for you, Dano. Did you realize in that game with Ferguson, 0 points and only 1 target, which is just a complete anomaly to me, but after that fiasco, he still stays as the #1 ranked fantasy tight end.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how that ranking because I hit well, and I could not believe, 1 target.
That's straight points. That's straight points. When their rankings on the site are straight points.
That's how far ahead he was over the second place guy.
Yeah, he could he could withstand a 0 and still hold that spot. That's kind of what I was pointing out.
Yeah, like I say, if you would have told me you was going to put him in a goose egg, I'd be like, you guys are having too many cocktails before you were filming.
Hey, I tell you what, though, and the same thing could be said for Dak Prescott, though, because a lot of people are thinking he's kind of on an MVP pace type season, and I'm not going to say that he's not, but he threw up a 7, so you can't feel great about that either.
Right.
No, right. Because he's been really hot. As the first game, he had thrown a touchdown pass in, and it was just a bad game. And hopefully this week he comes back strong.
Yeah. So I think you said it right, man. It was your first time under 100.
Yeah,
that's actually really good. I mean, when even Jason, the team you just said you thought was going to run the table, he's had 2 games where he's bottomed out under 90. So
yeah.
I think you're doing all right, in the overall scheme of things here.
Sure.
You faced Saquon on a day where it was kind of like you felt like everything was pointing towards Saquon having a Saquon kind of day. He'd been kind of catching a lot of shit for them not really giving him the ball enough and not really having much results as far as 100-yard rushing outputs or anything like that. So he kind of got off and rolling, and then Donnie's the rest of his team just kind of rock and rolled right behind him.
Well, and he was Jacob Saquon. You tell me who's got better 1-2 punch in our league. I'd be hard pressed to come up with someone. You guys probably could, but that's an awful good tandem to put on the field.
It is. It's very good. I'm not as big on Josh Jacobs as everybody else seems to be. It'll be something that I talk about at some point. I do have a note somewhere, but I also watched their game last week, and Josh Jacobs looked like absolute shit, and Emmanuel Wilson looked really good. So I'm not going to say that that's going to take Josh Jacobs off the field by any means, but it does kind of start to make you wonder if it does give a guy another chance for some opportunities to kind of help the wear and tear on Josh Jacobs.
I'm not a fans either. Chick on absolutely, but
oh gosh, yeah.
Jacobs, I mean, definitely a good running back, though. There's no doubt about it.
But he's definitely on the downhill of his career.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
So-
his better days are behind him.
Yeah. So we're going to give hats off to bedtime here for a big win, man. 164-91. I know you're going to bounce back, dude. We'll see what kind of picks we're looking at coming up here in the next segment as far as what you're looking like for the next week. But that said, ready to move on?
Let's see what these picks are for this week.
All right, stick around. You're going to stay with us, Dan, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, stick around, guys. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. It's going to be our last segment, or last two segments of the day here, which is just going to break down our picks for the upcoming week. Let's go ahead and kick it over to Jason. Start off first game of the week. Going to include me and our guest.
Yep, first game up, Motorboaters versus Big Fish. I got both of you guys here. First question there, Big Fish. How you feeling about this game?
Well, I gotta say this. I know that, Brandon, you've been on a three deal. You win 3, you lose 3. Now you've won 2 in a row. You're not going to get another 3. You're going down, Big Fish. You better get a bigger boat because the Big Fish is going to eat you.
How do you feel about that, Brandon?
Well, I mean, the good thing is this is going to be a win where I actually get to beat somebody at a full roster where they're not going to be able to do the bye week thing. I think Rico Dowdle's time is up.
I think you might be right on that one too.
I think with Derrick Henry kind of being up and down, while there's a lot of times I would say that Puka or Amon-Ra together is enough to just beat me, I actually think my roster is starting to kind of find some ground here, and I think I'm okay.
Well, and I got to tell you guys, I just got word from Sean McVay that Puka's full strength. No restrictions today. He's going to be ready to go Sunday. So that's another dagger into the motorboat.
I mean, the problem is you didn't talk to Brian Dable about what he's going to do with Wandale Robinson.
Maybe you're talking to the wrong coaches there, Big Fish.
We don't need to talk to the guys that got the best players. We need to talk about those tweeners.
Yeah, there's no question Puka's not going to show up. It's your other guys we worry about.
And it is. I mean, like I say, you just don't know, like my problem this week was, do I go back? Is Dak going to come back?
Yeah.
Which is good. Or do I go with Goff? And that's the fun part of fantasy. You got to try to outguess yourself, I guess you would say.
I try not to do too much.
Well, you could always just rely on those projections.
Well, and I tell Johnson this. Sometimes I think we all overthink it a little bit. You get too much wrapped in it, and then you start losing track of where you're trying to go.
I got to ask you that one question when speaking of those projections. How much do you look at those projections when you make a decision?
The projections?
Yeah.
I mean, you told me at the very start not to get wrapped up in those, and I try not to. I mean, I do look at them. I'm not going to say I don't. A lot of it's just my gut trying to figure out, okay, who do I think can go here or there? But, I mean, the projections, obviously, numbers mean something. But I agree. And that's something you said a few weeks ago, and it's totally true. You don't want to chase those numbers,
Last week's
and
numbers,
I've
yeah.
done that before.
We all have.
Yeah. So you guys are each taking your own teams there. I'm rolling Big Fish on this one.
I don't blame you, but I mean,
I think the 2 wideouts is going to be big for him again now that they're coming back off bye.
I picked against myself 3 weeks in a row. I said I was back last week and I won. I'm going to stick with myself and ride the hot streak.
All right, what's the next game we got going?
Next game up, Short Bus and Warden. This would be a great matchup. I would love for you guys to maybe have a Bubba's 33 Sunday afternoon.
Scotty might be a
watch
Bubba's
these games
afternoon
together,
for
but
us.
this is a game. It's kind of one of those I would anticipate at the start of the year. You're looking at your schedule. That's probably one of the first games you're going to see what week you're playing him and see what bye weeks you have.
Actually, this one actually snuck up on me.
No
I was
kidding.
surprised when I seen I played him.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Dan, we'll bring you in on this. What do you got so far here? Short Bus versus
This
the
one
Warden.
here, I tell you, I really feel like there's 2 games of the week for our league, and I certainly thought this is one of them. The Battle Boys having the other one. This one is tough. Now, I'll say it. Do I want the short bus driver to get derailed? Absolutely. I need him to take a loss to catch back up to him. I'm going to go with the Warden. I feel like the Warden's wideouts are going to be a little bit ahead of Jay's, and it's going to be a close battle. I say that I think this is a classic matchup, but I'm going with the Warden.
I don't disagree with your thought process. I'm going to have a different winner. And I will explain kind of this week I did something a little bit different when I started picking games. I actually went line by line and did a comparison in my head of, okay, +4 or -2, you know what I mean?
I do it by
Right.
position.
And so I did it across the score sheet, and I kind of did my plus minus that way and worked my way down. And I felt like it was pretty even all the way down. But I feel like, and again, when I do this, I don't do kickers and defenses because I feel like that's kind of just luck. I actually feel like when I got down to the tight end and the flex, oddly enough, when we talk about Jason and receivers are being a kind of a weak spot, tight end is going to be one where he fortunately fell into George Kittle, and I think George Kittle with Bam Knight after them cutting Michael Carter,
Right.
they don't have DeMarcado back 100% yet. I think it's the right week to play Bam Knight. I think that's the difference, and I think it's short bus driver by 4 points.
Yeah, I think my hopes there is Bam has a game so I can trade him next week. So, and I'm obviously going to pick myself on that. I do think that Scott's a high-powered team, scores a lot of points. So I'm definitely going to have to score some points this week to do it. I know we've talked about all them Miami Dolphins on that team, and of course, then again, I've got all them Cleveland Browns, but I'm
Right.
trying not to use them so much. So
Yeah,
the good thing is I don't have to use them this week.
Right. So, I mean, again, I'm right in line with Dan. I think this is probably one of the games of the week, and I think it's good enough to where it goes down to the flex, and that's where I got it being the difference. What do you think, Dan?
Yep, I think you're right.
All right. Well, we got that pick. Let's move on to the third game, and we'll take a little break here.
We got Team Johnson versus I Know Ball. Now, me personally, I know Johnson's been playing well. I still just think that I Know Ball has a little bit more firepower than him. Johnson's going to need some big games from a lot of guys that don't typically put out big games. I'm not saying they can't, but typically. I think Mahomes, I know he's going to be going back and forth on those two quarterbacks he got. I think Mahomes is probably his best consistent player at the quarterback. So again, Mark, package the other guy up, improve your team.
Yeah.
I know I said that to Mark Spencer. Yeah. Which it's a no-brainer this week, but at some point, you said with
try
Mark,
to figure out how to get better.
when one of your better teams is on your bench or one of your better players on your bench every week.
Mark's had the beauty because I had the year I went Super Bowl runner-up. I had Hurts. It's almost like a third running back, but you got a great quarterback with the push. It's an element that a lot of the other teams don't have. But I really on this one, I think to me it's a no-brainer. I know he's going to do it. I really think, and he did a great job on the show last week. I thought he was great.
Yeah, we missed a big segment of his. It was just as good.
Fabulous.
He did great. I do feel like Brandon Scott. I mean, I'm gonna say it. I think he maybe is the one to beat. Now, like I say, Jay scares you. He's putting up the numbers, but Brandon's team, boy, it's scary. It's scary when it's hitting. And I'll say this, B, it was a great win for you taking him down last week. I mean, I honestly thought there was no chance.
I did too. That's why I was telling Jason.
Well, here's something interesting for I Know Ball here. So he gets Lamar back, who's been pretty much a top quarterback at that position, top guy at that position every year. Jonathan Taylor, number 1 overall running back. JSN, he's in that fight for number 1 overall receiver. McBride, he's in that fight for number 1 over tight end. He might end up with number 1 guys at each position when this season's over.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Dan.
Well, I'd say I'm tooting Brandon's horn, but I mean that guy, he's got a lineup, man. I mean, I don't see too many weak sisters on that thing at all.
No, I mean I got question marks for myself for him, but that's these are not things that I'm worried about this week or next week. It's just kind of like
long term.
Can it be enough to get him there? These are things, and as you watch the video, you'll see as I talk about that. I'm with you guys. I know Ball winning this game. I wanted to find a way, especially after Johnson's win last week and getting to that 120 mark. I wanted to find a way to get him there, but dude, I got Braden and I got him by 20. I mean,
easily,
yeah,
probably.
I don't have this one as being very, very close.
I think Creighton wins with in a cakewalk. No,
Yeah.
nothing against Mark, but
Yeah,
I think
I'm right there with you. So I just don't think there's anything Mark can do. Mark's got as good of a lineup as he can put out there. I just think he kind of run into a buzzsaw. this
I
week.
think he's just hoping for that dud of a game, and I don't
Yeah.
think he's going to get it.
Yeah, I don't think this is the week. So I think we're unanimous on that one.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll be right back here to get those final 3 games in.
I'm ready.
All right, we're going to move right into the next game of the week. It's going to be Mark's Monstrous versus the Twin Bowers. Again, I've talked about Twin Bowers. He's rocking and rolling right now. This is going to kind of, I'll break down the numbers here in just a second. I can tell you right off the bat, it's going to be just like my last pick. I got this one as 20 plus. I got Drew rocking and rolling. Dan, I don't know if you realized quietly how good Drew's team has been. He has scored over 127 points 4 out of the last 5 weeks.
I actually took a look at that today, and especially after he put the on our feed there about being
Yeah.
Ivory and number one team.
Yeah, he did about cause an accident on the major highway, but yeah.
He is. He's peaking now. Is it too early? I don't know, but you got to get them wins now. And I played him earlier in the season. Well, of course, I had to play him again because he's in our division, me and Jay's division. And took him down. But he's not the same. He wasn't. He's a different team now than he was then.
Yeah.
It's scary.
And he's going to get better as it goes on. He's going to get Bowers back at some point.
Yeah, and if you look back at some of those early videos, when I talk about Twin Bowers, that's exactly what I say. Is I felt like he was a second half team, and I think you're starting to see that, dude. His roster this week, if you've looked at it, it is impressive.
Oh, it is. It is. And I really think Mark is just totally outwhelmed in this one. I mean, I think it's a huge 20, 30-point win for.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's so. Real quickly, and then I'll kick this over to Jason because I only got a couple points to kind of point out on this one. But so first, it's like when I did the line by line, the only position I would even consider giving Mark's not Monstrous was the quarterback position, and that would be maybe a 50-50.
Yeah.
And so, oddly enough, I usually question him, and we did it earlier in this video about always benching Drake May. This is actually the week I think it's the right decision.
Well, it could be, yeah.
Because you need points, and you got Daniel Jones going against the worst pass defense in football. But one last thing I just wanted to point out for you, Dan. Drew has a better wide receiver core than actually the numbers will probably tell you with the way Devontae Smith has been playing these last 3 weeks. And I don't know if you realize, but DK Metcalf is actually in the top 16 in receivers and has only got one game where he's under double digits.
Yeah, I've always been a huge Metcalf fan. I keep going back to the Super Bowl game.
We found one.
He put up like 59 points.
Gosh, dude, he had a stretch there where he just seemed unstoppable.
He's a great player, and Drew's got a good one there for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Mark, I think he's got to rely on those guys to score under 100. I don't think he's going to get that this week. Twin Bowers, 20, 30, maybe even more. I don't think they'll quite buy a million, but
if you could
30.
say, fantasy million.
Yeah,
a fantasy million. Yeah. Just let it be known, Mark did score 100 points last week in his win.
Woohoo!
Let's go. On the dot, I think. Anyway, moving on.
JJ's masterclass versus Battle Buster.
Oh, the brothers going at it, Big Dan, Grandpa.
Break them down, Big Dan. What you got on them guys?
Well, I'll tell you, this is, to me, along with your game, Jay, and this game here are the two, to me, they're both the game of the week. Yours certainly is with the Warden and these two guys with the Battle Buster and
JJ's.
Just Jefferson Masterclass. It's my grandsons, both my grandsons. I think it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be close. I really do. I think each one of those teams, each guy has got their strengths, but they also have their weaknesses. And I just think it's, when you put the numbers down, it's so close. But I got to pick one, and I think Justin Jefferson's going to come out in a squeaker win over Battle Buster.
That's not a bad pick, and it's funny you say that because we talked about how JJ's has been on a 120-point kind of plus terror here lately, 3 games in a row over.
Yeah, kind of the biggest winning streak in the league right now with 3 games.
Yeah, But I'm going to tell you guys, this is my upset of the week.
Upset alert!
It is my upset of the week. I have a very close game, and I have it coming down to the wire, and I have it going to Battlebuster. I think Big Brother's going to show him
Well,
why he was Super Bowl champ.
I'm actually just going to stick with JJ's masterclass on there. I know you haven't been big on his roster. I think it's good enough. I don't think he's elite, but I think he's good.
He's there. I mean, I've been down on his roster.
And I can personally vouch for. I know he's trying to improve those running backs because I know he's out there spreading the word, trying to do some things there. If he finds a way to make one or two moves, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see it happening by Sunday. Again, I just kind of, when I started breaking down just positional and matchups, I was able to skew it about 2 points. I mean, this is a pick 'em game, and I landed on Battlebusters. I know I'm the outlier here.
Right on. It's moving on.
But it's hard to call that an upset of the week. I mean, they're so close.
They're so close, but record-wise, one's 5-3, one's
Yeah.
3-5.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So that's why I call it an upset. And I think
Okay.
ESPN on their percentages as well. But either way, last game of the week, man. Beats by Ray versus Bedtime. This will be a stinker.
Well, me personally, I'm just going with bedtime. I think Beats' year is over. Bedtime's got enough to go here. I still believe he's one of those mid-tier teams. Beats, yeah, he just too much bad luck this year for him.
What you got, Dano?
I have to agree. I mean, I think Bedtime, he's probably not going to roll like he did against me, but he certainly, Beast by Ray has had a tough season. And you look down through that roster and you just see some pretty low numbers. I just don't see a lot of moves that he can make short of really doing an overhaul. And we didn't really talk about this. This is something I want to just touch on real quick. It's tough to find something on that waiver wire. There's not much there,
We talk about it extensively.
But it's interesting if you can find something once in a while.
Yeah, you find something there, you're doing something. That's why we do try to point out the successes that people do have there.
Yep.
Because I just want, I want to kind of get people to understand that it doesn't matter if it's week 1 or week 10, you can still find success there.
Well, I picked up Franklin last week.
Yeah, for Denver.
27 or 26 points.
Yeah.
It slipped through the crack, but it is. And I think, now I'm not against it. So when I say this, don't you guys think that I felt like it was the wrong thing to do? When we went to the 2 keepers, and then you take, that's 24 players that come out of the pool of players, it shrinks the quality of players that are left to sort through. And certainly after the draft, it gets pretty thin.
It does, but it kind of gets back to strategy. And that's where I feel like, you need to be able to go into the draft with a certain kind of strategy to be adaptable. You need to have about 3 ways to build a team.
Right.
And you need to be able to build a team around a quarterback. You need to be able to build a team around running back. You need to be able to build a team around receivers. And then you let the draft dictate which direction you go.
I totally agree.
If you get
and
set,
what, maybe next year, which I thought about this, that one year, I think guys sometimes got together at the draft and drafted together. I'm not a fan of that because if you're playing seriously, you got to be thinking, and you don't want somebody criticizing your pick right there. So what would be fun is we all got together maybe after the draft, like the following weekend or something, and just see it while everything shakes out.
You just don't want us to see your war room and who's making all those decisions, right, Mom? I mean, right, man?
Yeah, this might be a perfect time to put Mom on, right? Oh, funny. No, but back to the game picks real fast. I just want to kind of give my little pick here. I do have Bedtime, but I do want to talk about the fact that I don't think it's as easy as you guys are thinking it's going to be. I actually had this one going all the way down into the tight end and flex position again, kind of like I did with the Warden and Short Bus. I believe it's who it was that went down there. But either way, it was Marvin Harrison Jr. I know he's had a down year. I think against that Dallas secondary, I think he's going to feast with Kyler back.
Yep.
A great scenario there. I think Travis Kelce is better than Juwan Johnson this week at the tight end, and I actually think that's where Donnie wins the game. So I'm sure you guys probably have this as a double-digit win. I actually probably have this as a 5 to 10 point win. For
I had
Donnie.
it about an 8 to 10.
Okay, so I don't see Donnie really pulling away here, but I do have him winning in a close one.
Well, and Kelsey, it'll be interesting to see if he can put back-to-back weeks up like he did. What he put up last week.
Yeah. I think with Kansas City, it's like once they start rolling, you just kind of buy in until they don't.
Right.
It is. And you think Team Johnson regrets the Kelsey trade at all?
Well, you got Tyler Warren out of it.
He did. I mean,
And Tyler Warren's probably going to end up being a keeper out of that. You don't even know if Kelsey's going to be around next year.
I have Tyler Warren as tight end 3. I don't know how you could be upset about if you're picking one to not have it, because I think Tyler Warren could potentially be a keeper on a certain roster.
And we've talked about before, every trade, any certain week, one guy is going to win the trade over the other guy. But I think long term, I think Johnson's happy with having Tyler Warren.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think he's happy not having to run out the 2 tight end set.
But because he had Warren to start with. Didn't
But he traded for
No,
Warren.
No, he traded for Warren. He had,
and then that made Kelsey expendable.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he had Warren too. I thought he had both of them.
No, he traded for he got Warren from Braden actually.
Yeah, because he
Okay.
had Kelsey was his 2 out of the draft. I can't remember who he drafted, but once he brought in Warren, that's when he thought, well, I got a commodity in Kelsey, and shopped him out.
Okay, yeah, and from that standpoint, it probably was a smart move to let him go, because you're not going to have those 2 sitting on it.
Yeah, I can't remember if Mark was the one who shipped out T. Higgins or.
Yeah, I don't know how old.
Yeah, but I mean, he had some guys that weren't producing that still had some value. He got rid of and kind of got some value back in getting Tyler Warren, so it worked out for him. But either way, dude, that's our picks for the week. How you feeling about it?
I'm probably 3-3 again, like I am every week.
I'm 4-2, just like always. What's going to be the 2? Don't let it be you. Don't let it be you. Dan, I appreciate you joining us, man. Why don't you take a second to say bye to everybody?
Like I say, from us, the league, we appreciate the effort and keep doing it. And good luck to everybody. And we'll see what happens after this week.
All right, now time for our special guest, Mom.
The real special guest is here, folks.
Come on, Mom. Everybody wants to see you.
Gotta say hey.
There she is. So, Mom.
Hi.
Who makes the decisions on who to play each week and who to pick up? Is it you? We gotta know.
It's not me.
How many decisions do you make for them?
No, I don't make any. I don't know football that well.
Is there a group of people that meet in that clubhouse every Sunday morning
So,
to make decisions?
Every Wednesday when they have coffee, does he ask the whole group which tight end he should play?
No.
Oh, well, see, we're surprised by that.
All right, Dan's taking it on his own. I like
Here we
it.
go.
Thanks for coming on, Mom.
I appreciate it. Love you.
Love you too.
Love you, Mom.
You guys
you guys
take
later.
care.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us, Dan. Appreciate
Hey,
you, man.
no problem. Anytime.
I know these guys love to be able to put a face to the name. I know you got big plans this year. You feel like you're Super Bowl worthy?
I don't know.
Look at me.
We'll see. I mean,
Gotta ask Mom.
it's a battle, that's for sure.
The answer just answered itself.
Mom, tell him, you ain't meet my babies.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Dan.